Hey, this is Mr. Mitchell with another 7th grade science video. Go ahead and write down the questions. See if you can find the answers during the video. Today we're going to be talking about natural selection and symbiosis. Let's talk about natural selection first, kind of an interesting theory. A characteristic that makes an individual organism better suited to its environment may become common in the species, and natural selection is the process as to how that happens. For example, you can see here we have the giraffe. The giraffe's characteristic neck the neck allows it to get to these trees. Now, what happens if you once had giraffes that had, little bitty necks? Could a little bitty necked giraffe reach these trees? No. Scientists think that there's a very real possibility that at one time there were giraffes with little bitty necks. So what happened to those giraffes with little bitty necks? They were unable to eat the food and they eventually died out. And any offspring that had little bitty necks would die also. And that's kind of the concept of natural selection, that the individuals that are best suited for their environments, like this environment that the giraffe is in, the individuals that are best suited to that environment will survive, and they will pass their traits on to the offspring. So at some point, the giraffes that had the longest necks were able to survive. They had offspring which had longer necks, and they survived, and they had offspring with the longer necks, and according to scientists, now the only thing you even find is giraffes with longer necks because of the process of natural selection. So that's kind of the basic gist of what natural selection is, and natural selection results in adaptations, and one of the adaptations that's a common example here is the neck of the giraffe. An adaptation is a behavior or characteristic that allows a species to survive. Behavior, characteristic, I'll abbreviate characteristic, that allows it to survive. And that's exactly what scientists think has happened here with the giraffe. Over time, the poorly suited characteristics completely disappear from the species, just like the short-necked giraffes may have done. And according to scientists, they think every single organism species has done this. And what the result is that we have now is the species that adapted to be able to live in this world and get food and clothing and shelter. I guess it's more of food and shelter for most organisms. Let's talk about the word niche. A niche is a role that the organism plays in its habitat. The role it plays. For example, if you are a worm loosens the soil, a worm provides food for other animals, a worm probably feeds upon bacteria. It kind of has its niche in society. Birds eat insects that control the insect population. Humans eat animals that control the animal population. There are three major types of interactions that happen amongst organisms that are all in their niche. Now, one of them is going to be competition. If you have two animals or two species that occupy the same niche, what's going to happen? One of them is going to die off. They're in competition with each other. Competition is the struggle between organisms to survive off the same limited resources. So if you have two animals that live here in this tree, and they are competing for the um, same food, they're competing for the same space, then chances are one of them will win that competition. The other one will not survive, or they will have to go elsewhere, maybe try to find food in the grasslands here, something along those lines. But anyway, that's one of the types of interaction among organisms is competition. Another type of interaction amongst organisms is predation, and you've heard of the word predator and prey. That's how you can remember predation. It's where one animal kills another for food. One animal kills another for food, and that happens all the time in the animal kingdom. Predator kills, the prey was killed, and of course that can have a major effect upon a population. Population of predators and prey rise and fall. If you have more prey, if you have more gazelles running out here on the savannah than you have lions, then the population of the prey will go down because of because you'll have animals eating a lot of the gazelles. They have a lot of choice. The more predators, say you had more lions out here. Let's see, if you had a lot of gazelles and not many lions, then the lions would have their choice and pick off a lot of the gazelles. But if it's on the other hand, let's see if we can get some erasing action going here. That looks a little bit better. On the other hand, if you have a lot of lions, and not that many gazelles, then what do you think the population will go down? It'll be the lions, because there's not much food for them to have. So whichever one they have the most of, the predator or the prey, will end up losing in population. So you kind of have that balance, I guess you might say, between predator and prey. Now, the prey develop adaptations to escape the predator. The gazelle is lightning fast, so that is an adaptation over the years gazelles have apparently developed. All the slower gazelles, what happened to them? They got eaten by the lions. Likewise, all the predators create or have adaptations to help them catch the prey. Uh, Scientists might say that the color of the lion, as it matches the savanna here, would be an adaptation that has happened to help them catch prey. An example the book is going to have is that the cheetah's speed has helped them catch prey. Animals that look like their environment help them stay away from the predators. And finally, we're going to talk about the third type of interaction amongst organisms. It's on another page. It's called symbiosis. Symbiosis is the close relationship between two species. Relationship between two species. Now, this relationship is going to help at least one of the two species. Sometimes it helps one, sometimes it helps both. Where both species benefit is called mutualism, where both species benefit. Both are helped. Commensalism is where one of the species benefit, one helped. And that's going to be true also with parasitism, but with commensalism, one is helped and the other isn't harmed? Well, I'm having an awful time with this writing device. Whereas in a parasitism, one is helped, but the other is hurt. Um, it harms the other. And in parasitism, you have a parasite, which is the one that is helped, and the host, which is one that is harmed. Now, I have three examples up here. We have a shark and a remora, which is the little bitty fish that hangs around the shark. We have the mosquito and the human here. You can see the hairy arm. And we have a clownfish and a sea anemone. Now, which one of these do you think is mutualism? That's where both are helped. It's going to be way over here, the clownfish and the sea anemone. Having this brightly colored clownfish here helps the sea anemone, and it also helps the clownfish being around all this protective area here. Which one do you think is commensalism, where one is helped and the other is not harmed? Well, it'd be the shark and the remora here. Shark really, it would exist pretty well without the remora. But the remora, that is, well, that's what the remora does, is hang around the shark so it can feed upon what is left over from the shark. And of course, the parasite would be the mosquito. The mosquito is helped, but the human is harmed. And the parasite would be the mosquito. The host would be the human in this case. The parasite is usually smaller. That's one of the characteristics of parasitism. And, well, they usually do not kill the host. They just usually harm the host, or not beneficial for the host. Make sure that you go back and answer the questions if you haven't already. Hope you've learned a little bit about natural selection and symbiosis.